Commas in a list of 3 or more items are the easiest commas to use, but are probably the ones that are used most incorrectly out in the real world. The rule states that if you have a list of 3 or more things, separate them with commas. So a list of 3 items needs 2 commas, 4 items needs 3 commas, and so forth. In the sentence, I had a bacon, comma, lettuce, comma, and tomato sandwich. I have a list of 3 things, and I separate them with 2 commas, paying close note to the comma before the word "and" at the end. The tricky part is that it has not always been like that. Sometime in, I think the early 70s, the rule changed. So people over 40 learned that you only put 1 comma in a list of 3 things, like red, white, and blue, and you do not have a comma before the word "and." If they learned it this way, they're welcome to keep using it, but it's more grammatically accurate to have 2 commas in a list of 3 things, like red, comma, white, comma, and blue. In fact, journalists who have their own slightly different set of grammatical rules still only put 1 comma in a list of 3 things. There's an urban legend that explains why you need the second comma before the word "and" in a list of 3 things. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy man who had 3 children, a daughter named Lucy and twin sons named Sam and Sal, who were the kind of brothers that went everywhere together and did everything together. When the man passed away, his will read that his fortune should be divided so that equal parts should go to his children, Lucy, comma, Sam and Sal. After the reading of the will, Lucy got herself a lawyer and contested that the twin boys should be treated as 1 unit and she as a second unit, so that she would receive half of the fortune and the twins should split the other half. If the fortune is $1 million, then Lucy would receive $500,000, while each boy would receive $250,000, instead of each of the children getting a third. That missing comma cost Sam and Sal $80,000 each, plus legal fees. Once you know that there are commas needed between every item in your list, there's only 2 minor exceptions to worry about. First, beware of a list that contains an item that has the word "and" in it. There are certain things like spaghetti and meatballs that are 1 unit but contain the word "and" with 2 nouns. So in the sentence, the student had an apple, some milk, and peanut butter and jelly in her lunch. Peanut butter and jelly is 1 unit and should not have a comma in there. If you did put a comma there, it would imply that the student's mother gave a baggie full of peanut butter and a baggie with a glob of jelly as separate things, and no one would eat that for lunch. This also applies to a sentence like, my favorite superheroes are Superman, Batman and Robin, and Wonder Woman. Batman and Robin are 1 crime-fighting unit. They always go together and should not be separated with a comma. The second exception applies to the very rare times when you have a conjunction between every item on your list. This could be a sentence like, I have to do the dishes and finish my homework and clean my room before I can go out to the movies. You might write a sentence like this only to emphasize the length and extreme difficulty of the items on your list. And if you put a conjunction between every item, there are no commas needed. In this way, it's a little like when you have 2 items joined with a conjunction and there's no need for a comma. So, unless you write for a newspaper or were born before the year 1960, be sure to separate every item in your list with commas, especially a comma before the word "and" at the end of the list.